It's Miss Heidi, your adaptive PE teacher. Today we're going to talk about throwing using one hand and two hands, some fun things that you can do with your kids at home. I have my own kids here that are going to be my helpers today. I have my daughter,
Hope,
and my son,
Ryan.
and so we'll get started giving you some activities you can do at home for throwing. So you can use anything as a target for throwing. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go on through the video. Here I just have a small box with some small stuffed animals. You can also use a bucket or a larger box if you have one. Whatever you have at home just to help your child be able to visually focus where they're throwing. So Ryan's going to go ahead and come over here. I've marked an X on the floor with painter's tape. You can use painter's tape if you're inside so it doesn't damage your floors. If you're outside, you can use masking tape, duct tape, or even sidewalk chalk to draw a circle or an X, just some indicator so that your child knows where they should be standing while you're practicing your skills. So with our small animals, we're going to practice throwing with one hand. So Ryan's going to go ahead and catch this. Now, if your child cannot catch the smaller items, that's okay. We don't expect them to be able to catch these just yet. If they can, that's great. You can get pretty close to them and toss it underhand so they can catch it, and you can use two hands to catch, okay? But we do want to use only one hand to throw, and many of my students still want to use two hands even to throw a smaller item. So we do work a lot on one-handed throwing. So the cues that I like to give are one hand. If they do start to hold it with two hands, you can just push this hand down or hold it down gently. And then he's going to bring his arm back and put his elbow by his ear. Many of my students are familiar with that verbal cue because I do cue them to do that all the time. And then they're going to look where they're going to throw. So he's going to look at the box and he's going to throw. So preschoolers, children 3 to 5, we don't expect to see them stepping yet. That's a more mature skill. If they are, that's great. They can step and throw either with the same foot as their throwing arm this way, or the mature pattern is stepping with the oppositional. But we don't expect to see that. So right now we're just isolating the skill of throwing. You don't need to worry about the steps. But if they're doing it on their own, it's completely fine. So let's go ahead and have Hope try one. So Ryan and Hope, you guys can switch places. And we're going to try this little dolphin. You can try different sizes. You also want to make sure that they have a good grip on the ball or the stuffed animal so that they can throw it properly. Releasing can also be difficult. So sometimes you might need to give a little prompting to help them release the ball as well. So I'll show you what that might look like. So she's going to catch the dolphin even though it's very small. And she's going to bring her elbow up by her ear. And then if they do have trouble releasing, you can stand back there and here and help them so that when they throw, if they can't quite let it go, you can help them release that item. So with practice, hopefully they'll improve. You may also need to try different textures. Some things, if they have a really hard grip, they're harder to let go, which is why a ball actually works well. She also has her little stuffed animal here that she's going to go ahead and throw into the box. So that's what we usually look for when we're working on overhand, one-handed throwing skills. Now we're going to work on overhead throwing and underhand throwing with a larger ball. So Hope's going to start with that. We're going to use a larger ball, or you can also use a larger stuffed animal if you don't have any balls at home. So first we're going to use the ball. She's going to catch the ball again. Obviously, it's easy to work on catching and throwing at the same time. And when we work on them throwing the ball using an overhead motion, I also use the verbal cue up, 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 which most of my students understand. So she's going to go up, 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 up over her head, and then she's going to throw the ball to me, or if you have a target you want them to throw the ball into, like a laundry basket or a bucket. So let's try that again. She's going to catch the ball, and then she's going to go up, 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 and throw. Again, if they have trouble releasing, you can help them release the ball if they do have difficulty with that. The larger balls are easier to do that with. Some of my students also like to throw the ball like this with the chest pass. That's okay too, but we really want to work on this overhead throwing. One of the reasons that they're working on that is they're also working on their balance at the same time. And several of my students, as soon as they bring their arms back here, it throws them off balance. So you can also work on throwing the ball underhand. So go ahead and throw the ball to me underhand. Good. But a lot of times at this stage, that's kind of hard to differentiate. So you'll see on the different lesson plans which one you should be working on. Most of the time it's going to be working on the overhead throwing pattern. So those are some can do at home with either a ball or a stuffed animal, working on throwing either with one hand or with two hands.